Alright, what's up guys? Today I'm finally giving you my review on Project Cars, a racing game I was super excited about. Extremely. I could not wait for this game, and finally it is here. And today again I'm giving you my review. I don't want to give too much in this intro, so let's get right into it. As usual for a racing game, in the single player you have the career mode and the custom races. We all know what the custom races are, so let's focus here on the career mode, because unlike other racing games in PC, all the different categories are available for you to play from the get-go. Like the first time you launch the game, the career mode, you see all these categories and you can choose whatever you want to do first. If you want to do Formula A, you can do that the first time. If you want to do cards or GT3, you can do that the first time you play the game, which is pretty cool. Now, it's kind of limited because depending on the category that you choose from, you will have 1, 2, 3 or more choices of cars. And yeah, it's still limited even though you have all these championships available from the get-go. Now, since you already have everything unlocked, and what I mean by everything unlocked is in this game you don't unlock anything in terms of cars or tracks. Everything is there for you from the get-go. You know, that's a good thing and a bad thing at the same time, because since everything is unlocked, what's the point of playing the career mode? Like, what's the point? All the things that you're going to unlock on the career mode are maybe badges, historical objectives that are going to go on your profile, and yeah, that's it. You know, I didn't play that much, to be honest. I didn't play that much of the career mode because didn't find interest in it, you know, since the only thing that I had to do in this game was just practice new tracks. What I did was I went to free practice or time trial. I chose my car, chose my track, and practice there. Didn't play that much of the career mode, but if you still want to play, you know, all the different championships, it's going to take you a good amount of time. So yeah, I would say the career mode is cool, but the fact that everything is already unlocked makes it kind of useless at the same time. Looking at the number of cars and tracks in this game, you only have 68 vehicles. 68. Let's be honest, it's not a lot. It's only 18 more cars than Drive Club at launch, you know, which is pretty bad. I know that the game was mainly supported by the community, you know, the players, but still 68, no, it just doesn't work. In a racing game, you want at least 90 plus cars. 90 plus is good enough, you know, but less, not so much. So the number of cars in PC is not really good. However, for the tracks, it's better. Now, how I'm counting these tracks is, let's say Dubai, alright? Dubai has Dubai Autodrome Club, Dubai Autodrome GP, International, and National. I'm not counting those as being 4 tracks. I'm counting that as being 1. And by doing so, in this game, you have 27 tracks, which is pretty good. There were tracks that I didn't know before and that I had to learn, so it was really nice. You know, I really enjoyed doing that. And also you have 2 sprint or point to point, which are extremely long, like really long, you know. So yeah, for the tracks it's really good, but for the number of cars, not really. Visually, PC is a good looking game, and the very first thing that you're gonna notice is that it is extremely smooth, like really smooth. That's because the game is running at 60 frames per second, and people, I'm extremely happy that they were able to do that, because I replayed Grid Autosport, which is running at 30 frames, and man, you do not want to go back to 30 frames after playing a game at 60, especially a racing game. It is great, really, really great. But putting the game at 60, they had to do some sacrifices. The main thing that comes to mind is the display. The display in this game is pretty bad. You know, you can see the shadows in some tracks that are appearing as you're moving, and the most noticeable is on Spa, you know, the environment. You're gonna see that textures are appearing as you're moving, which is pretty bad, you know. But I guess they had to do these sacrifices to put the game at 60, and I'm really happy they were able to do so. If you look at the cars, the models are pretty damn good, just like you can expect from a current gen racing game. You know, you have the interior and exterior that are really well modeled, and you also have tons of details all around. For example, the dirt. When you're racing in long tracks, you'll see that dirt is going to accumulate all around your car, and if you're looking maybe near the exhaust, you're going to see that the more you race, the more it's going to get darker because of the dirt and also because of the heat and maybe the smoke. So that amount of detail is pretty nice. Next, you also have the damage. Now, the damage system in this game is pretty okay, actually. You know, you have some part of the cars that comes off, some nice deformations, but it's not really extreme. You know, sometimes I would have loved to see maybe the light break or the windshield break, something like that, you know. But it's pretty okay, I'll say. For now, it's more than what we had in Drive Club for sure. So yeah, pretty nice. Next, you have the lighting and the weather effects. In PC, the lighting is very basic, I'll say. Nothing that we haven't seen before or actually exceptional, like let's say a Draft Club, but it does the job. You know, during the day or different time during the day, it's pretty good, but during the night, not good, especially if you look up, because man, it's just like it was an actual picture that they put for the sky. It you know, it's very bad. So yeah, for the weather effects, it's a little better. You have some nice effect like fog, you know, the sunset, the rain, even though the rain is not exceptional, but you know, it still does the job. So overall, for the lighting and the weather effects, it's good. Looking at the smoke, yeah, the smoke. You guys know I like smoke in racing games, right? So looking at the smoke in this game, it's, I will say, decent, even though sometimes it comes out in spheres form, like in parts. It looks like a PS2 or PS1 racing game, something like that. But if you do circles and you have more and more smoke, it kind of look decent, I would say. So yeah, but to finish with everything visual, let's talk about the environment. Visually, it's decent, but what I really like about the environment in PC is the amount of detail that they put in the game. If you look at the tracks, it's like they modeled every single bump that you have in real life in those tracks. Like, it's crazy. Now, in other racing games that I already played, yes, you do have some imperfections sometimes in some tracks, but not as much as you have bumps and imperfections in PC. It is crazy because if you don't know that there are going to be some bumps in some corners, you're going to do mistakes all the time. And I really like that. I actually really like that. You also have some other nice details like leaves on the floor, well, on the track, when you have trees around, and when you're passing by, the leaves are gonna move. Same thing for the grass. And you also have the cameras, you know, the freaking cameras. You have that in the game. So yeah, I really like that amount of attention to the detail in the tracks. So yeah, overall, I will say PC is a decent looking game. You know, it's not necessarily impressive, but it's not bad at the same time. So yeah, now let's talk about the sound. I think most of you guys will agree with me on this one. The sound in Project Cars is pretty damn legit. Like, you hear almost everything. It sounds amazing, my friend. It is really great to hear. I don't have much to say, to be honest. It sounds pretty damn legit. So let's move on right away with the most important part in a racing game, which is the handling and the physics. So let me start here by talking about the tuning setups, everything that you can change to alter the handling of your car, because in this game, man, you have so many settings that you can change. It is crazy. Tire compound, tire pressure, brake pressure, downforce, lateral weight bias, weight jacker, settings that I don't even know what they do. Well, of course they explain it, but man, for those of you guys who love to tune your cars so that you have specific settings for each track, you're going to love this. And trust me, it changes how your car handles. So this is extremely good since we are talking about a simulation game. Next, you have the physics, which is extremely accurate. I will actually say the physics in PC is 90% realistic. Like, the 90% are for most of the categories or most of the different categories of cars that you have in this game, and the 10% left is exclusively for the cards. Like, the cards in this game, it's terrible. It is crap. You are not going to tell me the cards moves and react like this. No, just no, it is not possible. The cards in this game are terrible. Worst thing you can ever drive in this game, cards. So except from those, everything else feels pretty damn accurate. The physics is really good, and you can see that when maybe you're entering corners, depending on the speed, the different collisions with cars on tracks. You can see that the physics is pretty damn on point. But there is one problem, which is not related to the physics, but to the controls and the handling, because in this game the controls are not the best. One thing I want to mention before talking about the controls is these weird movements that you have on some cars. Well, most cars actually. When you're driving really slow and when you're turning the analog stick from left to right really quick, you're gonna see that the car is going to shake like crazy, like if it was Harlem Shake or something. Like, what is this? The suspension are crazy. Like, I don't understand. At first I thought this had some connection to why the controls were kind of bad, but I don't think so, thinking about it right now. But still, this is kind of weird and I don't really know what's happening here. So yeah. Now the controls. It actually took me quite some time to understand exactly what the problem was with the control in this game, but it's pretty simple if you think about it. Project Cars is not meant to be played with a controller. You have to use a wheel to fully experience this game, because the amount of precision or accuracy needed, maybe sometimes to avoid contact with other cars, or maybe to take some corners, or even more importantly to correct your lines, the amount of accuracy to do that is so high and so demanding in this game that you cannot do it easily with a simple joystick on the controller. You just can't. You have to commit so much in your lines with the controller that if you try to move when you're turning, most of the time you lose control of the car. Like, it is crazy, especially when you're playing without assist. This is unforgiving. You cannot do any mistake, and that is super hard. So that's why this game is really meant to be played with a wheel and the pedals. If you don't believe me, just look at the settings in the options for the controls. Throttle sensibility, clutch sensibility and dead zone all that, force feedback, all of these settings are not for the controller. They are for the wheels and the pedal. That shows you they focused a lot more on the wheel instead of the controller, which is not good because this game is on console and the basic peripheral for console is the controller. You need to calibrate it well, the controls for the controller in the racing game, especially if it is on console, which is not really the case in Project Cars. And I think this is the biggest weakness of this game, the controls and the controller. So yeah. Now, is it impossible to play the game with the controller? No, but it is extremely hard, especially like me. If you want to play mostly without assist, it is very, very hard. So yeah, the controls in Project Cars with the controller, not good.
Okay, we've got a warning from the race director for cutting the track. Need to respect the track limits, keep it on the island.
The online, the multiplayer. Again, in the racing game, it is extremely important because you are not going to spend all your time playing against the AI. At least I know that I'm not going to. So yeah, the multiplayer is extremely important. And in this case, for PC, the multiplayer is very average. The very first thing that you will notice is that you don't have a ranking system or a leveling system. Basically, you're just playing, I would say, for fun. Me personally, I play, to do videos, so it's not really a big deal. But yeah, you're not really playing to unlock stuff because everything is already unlocked for you. So you're just playing just to play, basically, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But what makes the overall online really average is all these small other problems and also the structure of the online. In this game, you only can play in other people's lobby or in your own lobby that you created with your own settings, because you don't have playlists in PC online, which is really weird because the last racing game that I played was Drive Club. And in Drive Club, it was the complete opposite. You only had these randomized races or playlists, and you could not create your own lobbies, which was not good. And in this game, is the complete opposite. You only have the possibility to create lobbies and to join others people's lobby, but you don't have playlists, and it's also not good. You need to have both because here's the problem. Since you don't have randomized playlists, and that you can only play or create your own lobbies, you're going to see the same settings or the same pattern everywhere. Like, people are only going to want to play in some specific tracks. You are never going to see some versions of some tracks. You are only going to see the same categories, which in this case most likely will be GT3, So yeah, it gets boring. You cannot do that. You need to have randomized playlists where people will play. The second big problem here is how they separated these lobbies, because you can search by settings, and the last one is the level of difficulty. You have three. You have amateur, novice, and pro, and that too does not really work because even when you go on pro, you will see settings with assist all over the place, and that has nothing really that makes it pro. So even that is messed up, it's not set up properly, so you have to search and search again. And for me, who likes to do videos without any assist, it's super hard. So yeah, that's also another problem, and it's not over. you will have a pretty good amount of technical problems. Sometimes the game will crash on you. Sometimes when playing qualifying, you won't even be able to start playing because the icon in the menu that says drive will be grayed out. And then you only have two options. Either first you have to wait until the race starts, and then you have another issues with the cameras, because sometimes you will be stuck in one specific camera. For me, it was always the bumper camera, because I was in the third view, and then after the third view is the bumper, so I was stuck in the bumper camera for the rest of the race, which really sucks. And then the second option for you there would be to leave the lobby, and when doing that sometimes the lobby is already full when you come back, so no lobby anymore, so it's very annoying. But the worst part, the really worst part about this are the lag spikes when you're playing in qualifying, because when you're doing qualifying, people can still join and leave the lobby, and when they do so, you have some pretty nasty lag spikes, and those are going to mess up your times or your laps, your hot laps. Man, I cannot count the number of times I touched the wall or I went off track because of these lag spikes, and I was doing my best laps. It's very annoying. So combining all of these issues to the online structure, and you have something that's not really good, but seeing the physics and how the gameplay is, even though the controls are not the best, it kind of balances it. And if you add that, you don't really gain or lose anything, since you don't have a leveling system. I don't want to say it's alright, but it makes it less worse, even though the structure and all these issues are there. So the online in PC overall is very average. So I will conclude by saying that even though Project Cars has not the best control, that the control are not well calibrated for the controller, even though it doesn't have a good amount of cars, even though the online structure is very basic and that you have some online issues, even with all of these, I will still say Project Cars is a very good racing game, a very good simulation game, because when you get used to the controls, that's where you appreciate the game way more. Of course, you will still have some problems here and there, but the experience is going to be better. But that doesn't mean they can get away with that. They still need to fix that if they do another game. They still need to fix the controls on the controller. So yeah, but apart from that, most of the other elements in this game are really good, and I really like the attention to detail. And that's why, considering all of this that I said in this review, I'm giving Project Cars a score of 17.5 over 20. So yeah, that was my review on this game. Really enjoying it. Thanks for watching. Check out my previous reviews, the link are in the description as usual, and I will see you guys on the next one. God bless you, and bye bye.